Well, let's return to Israel's war on Iran's nuclear programs. And it's incredible how incisively Israel carried out the initial strikes using undercover operatives inside Tehran. And spy agency Mossad also smuggled in drones and missiles deep into enemy territory. Iran was caught off guard, and this element of surprise was crucial. Let's bring in now to discuss former British commander Richard Kemp, who led British forces in Iraq and Afghanistan. And Richard Kemp is now live from Israel. Colonel, thank you so much for your time once again. Look, what impressed you about Israel's attack? And has the nuclear program been damaged enough, or are further strikes required?
It's a real pleasure to be with you, Sharri, again. And I should tell you also, I've got a bit of an Australia day today because I've been speaking just now to a large group of Australian young professionals who are visiting Israel to volunteer, which is something that's I think, very impressive. As far as the Israeli operation against Iran is concerned, I think it's probably the most impressive military operation that has taken place probably since the Second World War. It's an extraordinary thing, which I don't think any other army could have achieved in terms of both the intelligence, the long-term intelligence preparation for this operation. None of this could have been done without very, very successful intelligence penetration of Iran. Secondly, the incredible operational planning that went into it, that is going into it all the time. I mean, you can imagine how much coordination, synchronization it takes to organize multiple daily repeated strikes from the air at such a distance. Of course, all these planes have to be continually refueled and rearmed and fly very long distances to achieve it. Just that alone is an amazing achievement. And then, of course, the operations on the ground, you mentioned, the phenomenal operations that have been clearly in place there for a long, long time, ready to be given the word to initiate. I think the damage that's been done, none of us know this. It's only really the IDF that can assess the extent of their damage, and they'll be using all their sources available to be able to make an assessment of how effective it's been. I think they can, they will gauge the future of this operation on their battle damage assessment, and that means we can't really say how long it's going to go on for. I don't think even the Chief of Staff of the IDF would be able to know now how long it will last.
Well, I think this is the critical question, and I know you say it's impossible to know, but the question is whether Israel does need American involvement to completely destroy Iran's nuclear program, and the question of whether Trump is prepared to get involved. What's your hearing on the latest thinking around this?
Well, the first thing I'd say is I think that the United States and Israel are in absolute lockstep over this campaign. Many people want it to be different. For many people in the US and some in Israel, probably, I hope, very few in Israel, who would like to kind of pretend that there's a division between the US and Israel. There isn't. Israel and President Trump are in lockstep. And the United States has been doing a huge amount to help. Without the United States assistance, Israel would have found it very difficult to launch this operation and keep it going. And for example, in American provision of anti-aircraft systems, which have shot down a lot of the ballistic missiles coming into Israel, the assistance with munitions, daily munitions flow into Israel from the United States.
But
intelligence,
to finish the job, America does need to become directly involved, yes?
I'm not 100% clear on that. I think it would probably make it much more effective if America came in. And I think America might well come in. I don't think we can exclude that possibility. They might, after the brunt of the work has been done, they might come and deliver the coup de grace through bunker-busting bombs. But I do believe that Israel, even without that, Israel can at least set back this nuclear program by, let's say, at least 10 years by its actions. But of course, US assistance would maybe make it even a much greater effect than what Israel can do.
I'm hearing different things about Iran's remaining capabilities. They reportedly have the largest stockpile in the Middle East with over 3,000 missiles, but others tell me that there's only several days left that Iran can sustain this onslaught against Israel. Do you know what's correct?
I think it's a question that can't really be answered because, of course, a lot of it depends upon not just on the expenditure rate of missiles from Iran, but also the rate of destruction of missiles by Israel, both on the ground and in the air, particularly on the ground. I know a lot of effort's gone into that. But I don't think we should look upon this as an onslaught against Israel because, I mean, I've been in Tel Aviv, particularly in the last 2 or 3 nights when attacks have taken place by Iran, ballistic missiles fired. And of course, it's devastating. People going and spending hours in their shelters. Tragically, a number of people killed, a lot of destruction of buildings. But, and I know every single death is tragic, but there's been a relatively small number of deaths. And with the exception of 3 people, as I understand it, all of those deaths have been people who have not gone and taken shelter when they were instructed to do so. Now, that doesn't make it any easier. But I think the fact that such a small number of people have been killed during this war so far does tell a story about Iran's weakness. And let's hope no more are killed. We could be facing some devastating situation in the future. But so far, I think one thing that struck me about Iran is how weak it is in its response.
And as well, reports that are unverified that the Ayatollah and the leadership have gone into hiding. We don't know quite whether that's true. All right, Colonel Richard Kemp, always appreciate your insights in the program. Thank you very much.